Welcome to this week's Advertisers Watching Ads. This is the show where people from across the marketing industry discuss case studies, ads, and things that are going on in the industry. We've got a really interesting case study this week, which is really exciting to run through. But first, I want to obviously kick off with thanks to our partners, Contagious, who have selected the case study that we'll be talking about this week. Before further ado, I'm going to introduce our guests this week.
Hello, my name is Aiza Samsam and I work for Reckitt Pakistan.
Hi, I'm Cicero. I'm head of the digital hub for Western Europe, based out of the UK, also working for Reckitt.
And hi everyone, I'm Pollyanna Ward and I'm currently an account director.
So this week's case study, we all know that playing FIFA can be really stressful, and 70% of players see their heart rate soar when the opposition scores. And research shows that the game can make you angry. So KitKat has pulled a stunt to give gamers a break in this new ad.
Ever since the creation of the iconic tagline in 1958, KitKat has been giving people a break from all kinds of routine, pressure, and stress. But as life increasingly goes digital, more and more pressure is caused by things like social media and games. Like this one, the biggest football game on the planet, and because of its competitive and intense gameplay, also one of the biggest sources of stress among gamers. Research shows that during an online match, blood pressure and heart rate both rise dramatically, indicating a surge in emotional activity and stress. Time for KitKat to join the game and give gamers a break. We created a load of KitKat accounts, set up a team full of Kit and Cat players, qualified for the most high stakes and intense game mode, and did exactly the opposite of what every opponent expected, giving away quick and easy wins to everyone. After each game, we sent a personal message using PlayStation's messaging service to explain and tie everything to the KitKat brand. In one weekend, we gave tons of gamers a break, surprising players by infiltrating their favorite game and saving them precious time and stress. And all we had to do was play some really poor football.
Oh, it's an own goal! That's an own goal.
KitKat, giving gamers a break.
What I'm going to do is, on the count of three, I'm going to ask you to kind of hold up your hand with a score for the ad overall. So 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thought you were going to go a little bit higher than that, but 3's across the board for everyone. Okay, so what were your initial impressions?
Pure genius, because this was such a real actionable insight that, yes, when you play FIFA, like the research shows, your blood pressure kind of goes up, your heart rate kind of goes up. So we do realize that, it causes a lot of stress, a lot of tension that, we have to have that winning streak in us. But it's just that nobody really realized that, this can be like a perfect moment of marketing. Your stress is high, you need a break, you need to eat something to calm your nerves down. And KitKat is like the perfect solution to the problem that you have. So for me, I think this was like a wonderful and a best class study of how you can use like real insights. So for me, I think this was an absolute blast to watch.
I did kind of feel like the insight was a bit more Snickers if I had to put the sort of contrarian hat on. But I would say that KitKat, they've had that brand platform since the 50s, have a break, have a KitKat. I think on the surface level, absolutely brilliant. Love the insight and the actual execution. But yeah, it was just fascinating to dig a little bit deeper and realize that a lot of work went into understanding gamers, which I think is just kind of true to, if you're going to go on a platform, play it yourself, understand it yourself, because it took them 2 years to get it off the ground.
It is in the realm of data-driven marketing where you know that there is an actual situation that you can put your brand in a meaningful, real, right, rather than a planted thing. It's really good to have a break, and it is a real stressful situation. And I think it also taps into, places where people might not have felt included before, right? And gaming has had such a prominent spot now for advertisers, and also so many people playing and coming together with pop culture. And it's so nice to see brands go into that space.
How do you keep pushing it and keep reinventing it for the modern age?
I think it's a really interesting brief. And I also almost see it as, hopefully an inspiration to marketers. This is essentially, to me anyway, it's a glorified sampling brief. We need to sample, 1,000 KitKats to a target audience. It's still COVID, so we can't really be going around giving stuff out hand to mouth, literally, in train stations or whatever. So what do? We need to do it digitally. But I think this is very much a really exciting sampling brief that probably has the same level of guardrails for a brand, but that's where you need to rely on your agencies, right? To have those people in place who get gaming world, who are native gamers. It's really difficult when you're in-house to perhaps have someone that has that plethora of skills. And that's where it seems like they've got a really great agency that have been able to really get under the skin and probably were able to react very quickly to anything that kicked off.
I do know of other campaigns with FIFA as well. I don't know if you all have heard about the Burger King one, which is a very different way to execute. Basically, they sponsored a very low league team, and then their logos went into every single FIFA match, and they also gave away freebies. I think the Burger King case on FIFA where they actually hacked the whole thing. There was no hack here. It was kind of like, just giving stuff away online, right? If you want to go into that. I don't think it got into, people loving it, and it didn't do something that any other brand could not replicate as well.
This campaign had a lot of potential to really become like a massive campaign, but sadly it didn't. It was a concern for marketing spend, or maybe it was a concern for return on investment, but it didn't turn out as popular as we thought it would when we saw it in the first instance.
Maybe next year we'll see them do something big. Maybe this was just a test. So yeah, I think from that sort of lovely awards season case study video, a really interesting way of doing sampling in a very native way. But yeah, did anyone see it? Probably not, no.
So what do you think it tells us about how brands need to be approaching their planning now and to almost invent these new spaces and new ways to show up in the world?
It's just the appetite for risk. Going into that and doing that, you could have a backlash. You give people the voice to speak back, right? Because you're sending them an active message. So I think that appetite and the ability to respond to that might also be something that, the brands needs to get on with it and just generally know that, going online might have a great reward, but it might also have a huge backlash from users.
Yes, there's like a massive risk that we would be facing backlash. So I think as for marketeers, and this is what we have started practicing since the past 5-6 years as well, that, whenever we go and we launch like a digital campaign, we just make sure that we have like a backup plan, or we have like a relationship management plan in place in case, everything kind of backfires. So when that happens in terms of, salvaging that campaign, or God forbid, if it happens in terms of salvaging the campaign, you have an action plan to mitigate that. Also, I think another thing which marketeers, or maybe I had that misconception in my early years of my career, that, to have like a great campaign, you need to have like massive amounts of investment or marketing spent. That might not be the case anymore. You just have to think creatively. You just have to think outside the box. You have to think innovatively. This is like the perfect moment for us to practice that.
This feels like quite a good way to test and to take that risk, because it could have backfired. There was some commentary saying, interestingly, it was from Western commentators who were sort of saying, oh, this is really intrusive and interruptive. No one wants their game to be interrupted by a brand. But interestingly, when you look at more of the Asian consumer, they're actually a lot more brand happy, I suppose, than the Western market. From a UK perspective, like, oh, what is it? Like, go away brand, or whatever that meme is. But in Asian cultures, it's a lot more accepting, especially where there's a payoff. They're a lot closer to brands. So I think it makes sense for them to do. I don't know whether you could replicate that everywhere. I think once you've done it once, it's kind of, how do you go bigger and go better? But I think more broadly, it just speaks to that sort of nicheification that we're sort of seeing of passion points and subcultures grouping together in small spaces.
I still like the ambition of it. I think it's fun. Could have very easily put in some terrible advertising in the game or something like that. So it's an interesting and something different. So thank you to everyone for watching this week's AWA. Thank you to all our fabulous guests and to Contagious Magazine, and also to KitKat for such a great case study for us to discuss. And we will see you next week.